Hello and welcome to the Lund University International Podcast. On the show, we aim to give you a taste of what international student life at Lund is like, as we speak to current students, alumni, teachers, and many more special guests. My name is Tim Parker, and I'm an International Communications Officer here at Lund University. We have a very exciting episode today. Lund University is famous for its student life, its student nations, associations, and unions. And today we're going to be talking about one very special student association, the Association of Foreign Affairs in Lund, which in Swedish is Utrikespolitiska Föreningen, or UPF. And today we will be referring to the association as UPF. And we have a special episode today. We're going to have a number of different guests. We're going to start off with two board members, Victor and Isabella, who are going to tell us about what it's like to be involved in the organization today. And then later, we're going to talk to an alumni, Linda, who was previously involved in the organization and who has gone on to be involved as an intern with some very exciting organizations such as the United Nations. So we have Victor, lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
And Isabella.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for coming along today, guys. And Lund University is really famous for its student life, its nations, its unions, and its fantastic student associations. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. One very special student association called the Association of Foreign Affairs in Lund, or UPF. So we'll be calling the organization today UPF. So, Victor, what is UPF?
Well, I'm glad you asked. UPF is one of the oldest student associations in Lund, as far as I'm aware. We call ourselves the most international student organization since we have a focus on foreign affairs and also on politics, but it's not specifically only to politics. So we want to have quite a wide focus. We include students from all different types of faculties, not necessarily only political science, but also engineers and medicine students. Anyone can join. And the focus in general is to have both the kind of academic activities, like we organize lectures and career fairs, but we also have another side where we also have activities such as a ball and different karaoke nights, for example. So we have quite a wide focus, I would say, in UPF. But the main topic, what unites us, is an interest in what you said, foreign affairs and international topics.
Fantastic. Sounds like a perfect association for international students, because I do believe that the working language of the association is English.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, right.
Perfect. And there's a number of committees in UPF.
Yeah, there's currently 8 committees.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, if you want, I can name them.
That would be great.
So we have the Activity Committee, Career, PR, Magazine, Webzine, Lecture, Pod and Radio, Travel. And currently, we have the Debate Club, which is not a committee, but is still part of UPF.
Fantastic. That's a really extensive range of different committees. So it seems like there's really something for anyone who's interested in international affairs to get involved in. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. But I would say that not only that, UPF is also a place that you can meet your friends and you can just meet other students. And if you are, like, for example, interested in organizing events, then you can go to activity. And if you're interested in maybe doing the content for the organization, you can go to PR. So I would say that it's not really that you need to be interested in foreign affairs. So really anyone can join as long as they're students.
Fantastic. And you yourself are an international student, I believe.
Yeah, I'm from Colombia.
Fantastic. So could you say that there's a mix of Swedish and international students in UPF?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say that less Swedes than internationals.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
At least this year.
And I'm really curious, guys, what are your roles in UPF? So, Isabella, which committee are you involved in?
I'm the head of committee. Sorry, I'm the head of activity.
Fantastic. All right. And what does the activity committee do?
Well, we are basically the committee that organizes the social events.
Oh, sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. It is really fun. Well, we organize sittings.
Okay. What's a sitting for people who don't know?
Okay, a sitting is an event where you go and you have dinner. Is that right? So you go and have dinner. We usually do it at the Nation.
Okay.
And then you go clubbing. Party. So
fantastic. And is there also a ball that the activity committee
Yes, so that's
okay.
the most important event of the year, I will say, the ball, which is around 100 to 150 people attending the ball. And it's usually people from, well, members of UPF, of course, the current board, the previous boards also usually attend, and other important people from different student organizations also attend the ball.
Exciting. And Victor, what are you taking part in?
I am the current head of the career committee.
Okay.
So if Isabella was the exciting fun committee, I guess I'm the other side of that coin. The career committee is responsible for organizing things such as a career fair, which I think, from the events that the committees organize, if the ball is the biggest, I think the career is also one of the major events organized by UPF. We also have a mentorship program in collaboration with Lund Diplomatic Club. And we also have what's called a career prep course. And that's where we invite speakers not to speak about a certain topic, but to speak about themselves and their career and if they have any tips. So it's quite a good, I would say, context to learn more about work life and career before actually going out into career life. And it has helped me personally a lot to know what to choose now in student life, because I found it very hard to make choices when I don't have anything to base the choices on. So it's good to get some kind of real life grip on what the situation is about.
Fantastic. That sounds really exciting. So I wonder how many people are involved, for example, in the prep course.
Yeah. So in the prep course, we have 20. It's in theory it's 20. It's more close actually to 25, since we also include the people responsible. Like, I'm not taking up a spot, but you need to apply for the prep course as a regular member, and that is 20. And also in my committee, we are currently, I think we're about 20 active people. We have no obligations, very few obligations. If you can choose to become a trustee, for example, and then you take a role of responsibility, and then you will be obligated to do something. Like if you're for example, we have something called an event facilitator, then you have to attend the events and have to help. But if you're just a regular member of committee, you can just show up whenever you want, basically, and do what you feel like. So there's very little you're required to do in UPF in general, not only in my committee.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of ways to get involved. And that brings me to my next question, Isabella. How does someone get involved in UPF? It sounds like a fantastic organization with a lot going on, but how do you actually get started?
So for anyone that is interested in UPF, I would recommend joining a committee.
Okay.
Or joining different committees. I would say that that's how really you start, right? To get involved, to getting to know, okay, what's happening, what's going on, what are these people doing, and then you can decide which committee you want to stay, or you can just participate in different committees too.
Fantastic. And there really is a lot of committees with a lot of opportunities, as you already mentioned. And I think I also want to highlight, for example, the travel committee does some very exciting things. Just as another example, I believe they take one trip per semester. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And last semester they went to Jordan.
Wow, that is really, really interesting. And before that?
Istanbul.
Okay, all right. So some really interesting trips on the cards there. And do you know what the travel committee did on those trips?
I'm not entirely sure.
Usually they visit different NGOs or the Swedish embassy, for example, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also they just get to know the city where they are going and travel to.
Really, that sounds really, really exciting. And you already mentioned you can get involved in a committee, but I believe both of you are actually on the board of UPF. So, Victor, could you tell me a little bit about how that works? How does one get elected to the board, and what does the board do?
So the board is responsible for basically, I guess, making decisions about the organization, however general that sounds. But all committee heads are also board members, at least currently. And also we have the presidium with the president and the treasurer, vice secretary. Those are also on the board. So whenever there's something like, oh, should we have the same fee for joining the organization? Should we have the same length? Should we change how we recruit members? That this is a current issue that we're currently discussing. How do we best recruit new members? That's where we come in on the board and make decisions and discuss. And we also have different working groups for this. Oh, we need to improve the website. Who can take this on, for example? That's what the board is responsible for. And as you mentioned, you get elected. So there's an annual meeting, usually at the end of the spring semester, where you get to apply and then you get nominated maybe. And then there's a vote. And if you get the most votes, you're elected.
Fantastic.
So it's a very democratic organization like that.
Definitely sounds democratic and sounds like the perfect kind of extracurricular activity that anyone could put on their CV when they're looking for work. What do you think about that, Isabella?
Yes, I think like it's really good. I would say that in my experience, it has taught me so many things. Before being in UPF, I was not so much integrated in the student life, but after joining UPF, I've learned like how to be involved in student life and also like learning I would say like important things like I don't know how to manage my time, how to manage a group of people, which is something that is really important if you like want to have, for example, a management position or so it's like, I mean, it's good for your CV, but at the same time, it also like teaches you like important skills for your working life.
Sounds like a win-win situation. And I believe also there's quite a few notable visitors and guests that get invited along to, for example, the mentor program or to the lecture committee as well. Could one of you tell us a little bit about some of the guests that have visited UPF recently?
Yeah, I know we always mention that Kofi Annan was here as a guest for the lecture committee, and this keeps getting brought up, and I understand why, because he's a very important person. We also have Jan Eliasson, I know, a very famous Swedish diplomat. And I also think Camilla Malmström was here, who was the commissioner to the EU. So there's usually quite a few big names, and even apart from the most famous people, we always have diplomats and the like, I would say, coming. So there's a lot of potential also to choose who we want to invite. But there's a lot of very interesting people who come to speak at the lectures also, and the prep course, of course.
Fantastic. And maybe we could even say that some of the people who are in UPF now will go on to be diplomats in the future, which is something that also has happened, and we're going to talk about a little bit later as well. So UPF sounds like a fantastic organization with a lot of opportunities, but I'm just wondering how much of a time commitment it takes.
Well, I say that for my part, as a head, it takes up to 2 hours for 8 hours a week.
Okay.
But as a member, I would say just maybe 1 hour per week. It really depends how much input you want to put into the organization too.
Fantastic. So, for example, Victor, like you said, if you wanted to redo the website, that might take a little bit more time.
Yeah.
I guess it also depends what you put into the time commitment, because if you do the bare minimum, it's not a lot. If you want to join the social activities, I'm not sure if you count that in. If you're a board member, when we have a board meeting, those can take quite a while.
Yeah.
But it really depends what role you have in the organization.
All right. Awesome. I'm just wondering if there's any other highlights about UPF that we haven't talked about so far. Any awesome aspects of the organization, any things that are in development or that you're done that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, what's the big thing? Apart from the ball, of course, which is going to happen. I think for me personally, one highlight for me was the career fair last semester, where we invite different organizations to, of course, it is a career fair. So we got people from the EU and from the UN, different organizations. We had UNIDO and UNDP from the UN. and some different representatives of the EU, also the EPA, which is the personnel agency. And for me, that was really a highlight. First of all, because of the event itself, but also because that's also when the entire committee got to work together. So to me, that was really interesting because UPF is a lot about meeting people. And that really showcased to me that both about meeting people, like contacts from outside of the organization, but also from meeting people within the organization, of course, because in the beginning of the semester, usually you don't know the people of your own committee because that's when you come together. And for me, this really crystallized in the career fair, which was at the end of last semester. So that was a highlight for me in this academic year.
Amazing to hear. All right, and any other highlights that we haven't talked about for you, Isabella?
The thing is that for me, the highlight would be the ball. But I guess the lectures are really good. Like, there's been many lectures which have been so good, so interesting. I really recommend anyone to go to any lecture. I think they're usually the highlight. They were the highlight of my week.
Okay.
Last semester. This semester there haven't been many lectures. Hopefully be more going on.
Fantastic. And that's also a great way to meet other UPF members at lectures as well, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much for coming in today. It's been a real pleasure to hear about UPF and how you're involved. So I wish both of you all the best in the future, especially for the exciting ball coming up. So thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So I would like to welcome our second guest of the episode today to the studio. Welcome, Linda. Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Nice to be here.
Happy to have you. So, Linda, you're actually an alumni of UPF.
Yes, indeed.
Perfect.
Indeed.
So what was your role when you were in UPF and when were you involved?
Yes, I started UPF in 2018. So I was an active member in the activity committee and in the PR committee. And later I applied for the head of career position and I got it. So I was the head of career.
Okay, so you've been involved with quite a few of the committees in UPF.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. And since leaving UPF, you've actually been involved in some very exciting activities as well. So that's primarily what we want to talk about today. So would you like to tell us, since leaving UPF, what have you been doing?
Yes, sure. So first, I did an internship at a Nordic research institute. And after that, I studied my master's in Lund. And right now, I actually came back from Germany, Bonn, where I did my internship at the UN,
Wow.
UNFCCC, which stands for United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is a long name, but it's also known as UN Climate Change.
Okay, that is really fantastic to hear. And as an intern, what was your role and what were you doing?
I was in the Resource Mobilization Partnerships subdivision, and I got to take on many responsibilities, ranging from digital media, communications, and research, writing reports,
Okay.
keeping in contact with our partners and parties of the convention.
All right. And you were involved in the most recent COP conference as well.
Yes.
Well, would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. So COP 27 was held in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt in November. And many of my tasks actually involved COP tasks, pre-COP and during COP and also post-COP. So yeah, it was a strong focus during my internship. And I was present also in Sharm el-Sheikh. And my team was responsible for the UN Climate Change Pavilion. So we held 46 events during the 2 weeks.
Wow.
So it's really interesting. We had different kinds of stakeholders, different topics about climate change. So it was definitely very exciting. So yeah, I got to webcast all the events, and I created a website for the pavilion event schedule and many other tasks. Yeah.
Well, that's really an all-round role there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And would you say that being in UPF previously, did that help you to prepare for your tasks at the UN?
I would say so in many different ways. I definitely learned to communicate better when I was working with the UPF. I could manage my time better, and I also learned to take more responsibility, and yeah, I would say project management skills. That was something that I learned that I could also use during my internship, and especially in the PR committee, I learned many PR skills which were very advantageous. But also the career committee, I feel like I learned to kind of trust in myself more as I got more exercise in that during the UPF time. And I feel like I was able to dream bigger UPF, and it really gave me some self-confidence, which was helpful.
Well, that's very inspiring to hear. And now I'm also thinking back to your time on the board as well. And with the career committee, you're also involved in inviting some quite special guests to come and participate in some activities as well, if I'm correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Would you like to tell us about that?
Sure, I can tell you about that. So in the autumn semester, we did not have that many events because our academic year was mostly focused on the spring semester. But during the autumn semester, we invited the former president of Finland, the first female president, Tarja Halonen. We had Swedish fika with her. It was really a lovely experience. She has been my role model previously, so it was a big moment for me personally. And unfortunately, during the spring semester, 2020, that was when Corona hit. So we had planned a variety of activities, and we had invited many very exciting guests. But yes, then Corona hits and all our plans were cancelled. So that was unfortunate.
All right. Well, I mean, I know COVID was a tough time for all of us, but it's really great to see that the organization is still going strong now as well, post-COVID. And Linda, you also mentioned you worked as in some kind of research capacity at previous to finishing UPF. Would you like to tell us about that as well?
Yes, sure. So I worked at Nordregio, which is a Nordic research institute, which focuses on research about different topics from urban sustainability to regional collaboration. I first did my internship there, and then I continued working there for a while. That was such a nice experience as well.
Nice. Well, I'm hearing so many great things that you've done since you've left UPF, being an intern at a number of great organizations. It sounds really, really inspiring. Just wondering if you have any words to people who are thinking about coming to Lund in the future and thinking about joining UPF. Do you have any advice for them?
I would definitely say go for it. You won't regret it. You will learn so many things. You will meet not only Swedes, but also other international students. You will, it was, as the current board members just gave an insight on the work of the UPF, you will learn more about the more intellectual stuff, but you will also be able to join these fantastic events and learn more about foreign affairs, which is a very broad topic. So there's definitely something for everyone. UPF, you can come from any different background. I'm sure you will find something for you.
That's so great to hear. And you mentioned it there a little bit as well about the academic side and the social side. And I guess on the social side, it seems like UPF gives a really good opportunity to make friends and build friendships for life while also working on your career at the same time. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. Many of the friends that I made during UPF are some of my closest friends until this day, and will probably be so for the rest of my life.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear. And now you're back in Lund completing your master's. Is that correct?
Exactly.
And which do your studies align with your previous experiences and what you've done in UPF?
I would say so. I'm studying climate change strategies, and when I was head of career, we organized some events that had a focus on sustainability and climate change. So it definitely supports my current studies.
That's really good to hear. Well, thank you so much, Linda, for coming in today and talking to us. Your experiences in UPF and since leaving UPF are really inspiring to hear about. So thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Lund University International Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about Lund University, you can go to our website, lunduniversity.lu.se. You can also follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can also chat with our current students on UniBuddy. Don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to bringing you a new episode very soon.